Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast Five, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we obviously still keep it to 5 minutes, but we are going to pick out the biggest story of the week, the sleeper story, which is one that's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, the most remarkable story, and then our favourite story. So let's jump into it. Do you mind if I start with my choice for the biggest?
Please do.
Look, it's been a massive week for geopolitics. It's been 7 months really since the start of the war in Ukraine, and things aren't going so well for Russia. Ukrainian forces have had some big wins in recent weeks. And then this week, we saw Russian President Vladimir Putin announce a major escalation, the mobilization of 300,000 reserve troops and people with previous military experience. Worryingly, he again threatened the use of Russia's nuclear weapons. It doesn't help that China, as previously a good supporter, has started to voice a few concerns over the conflict. India, in a pretty influential position, has told Putin that the era of war is over. We had US President Joe Biden at the UN slamming Russia and trying to gather more support for the Ukrainian resistance. Obviously, the conflict has a big impact on global markets, the impact on energy prices, the price of oil spiked. With everything that's going on in financial markets with inflation and rising rates, you don't need all this uncertainty from a nuclear-armed Russia threatening an escalation of the conflict.
Yeah, really big story. Look, the other one which I thought was interesting this week was the property market. In residential last weekend, the preliminary clearance rates for auctions was over 60% again. It got down to about 52% in July. It's back above 60%, which is great. Philip Lowe, the Reserve Bank governor, came out. He doesn't really predict house prices, but he thought a drop of 10% sounds about right. There's just a sense of supply and demand coming more into balance in that market. Then the Financial Review had their property summit earlier in the week. We had all sorts of commentary. What I liked was Charter Hall CEO David Harrison. His company owns plenty of office space. He said activity-based working is dead, i.e. people are going to come back into the office. And he said people need to come back into the office if they want a career. Otherwise, they'd increasingly find their roles replaced by robots. There you go. Also, the boss of Vicinity Centres talked about the resurgence in large-scale shopping centres. That's being underpinned by a boom in the luxury market. Just plenty of going on in property this week. My biggest story of the week.
Yeah, both big stories. The most remarkable story of the week, what was it for you?
For me, it was just how well the coal companies are going. Yep, we know coal prices are high, particularly thermal coal prices, and we knew things were going well, but this week it became ridiculous. New Hope Coal announced a profit of nearly $1 billion, 12 times the profit of the previous financial year, and its boss says things could actually get better. New Hope's share price on the day went up 7%. It's up more than 150% this year. Then competitor Whitehaven Coal said it wants to buy back 25% of the company. Okay, I get share buybacks, but 25% of the company. Totally remarkable what's happening in coal companies at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a remarkable story. Let's move on to the sleeper story. So one that's flying under the radar or going to become a bigger story down the track. I've got a suggestion for this one. Something that I think is probably going to sneak up on people. In just a few days, the reduction in the fuel excise will end. It was introduced by the previous coalition government to help with the cost of living, which kind of took petrol prices down by about 22 cents per litre. It ends on Wednesday night. The government is not going to be extending it. Fuel is cheaper than it was back in, say, the peak in July. The government wants to focus on budget repair. What's it mean? Fuel is going to start rising, not necessarily straight away because the fuel in the tanks at the servos at the moment was purchased at the cheaper price. The ACCC is going to be keeping a very close watch on it, but it's pretty likely that after that, those prices are going to start heading back up again. So maybe fill up before it gets too late.
I think so. Look, my sleeper of the story, and it could be the biggest story, is what's happening at number 2 telco Optus. It's been the victim of a massive cyber attacks, potentially 10 million customers' information, that's current and former, including names, date of birth, addresses, phone numbers, ID documents like passports and driver's license, have been stolen. Now, Optus has shut down the attack. It's working with the Australian Cyber Security Centre and the Australian Federal Police as well as regulators. CEO Kelly Bayer Rosmarin has tried to reassure customers. On Friday, she was almost in tears at a press conference about it. Investigations are ongoing. No ransomware has been demanded yet. Not sure whether it's state-based or criminal-based attack. Potentially the biggest attack, though, biggest cyber attack in Australian history.
Yeah, big story, that one. All right, my favourite story of the week, and I suspect we might be united on this one, Sean. It was the coverage of the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II on Monday night. I watched the service, I watched the procession, and I just thought, wow, this is a remarkable send-off for someone who has devoted their entire life to service. Regardless of where you stand on the monarchy and the Republic debate, I thought it was an incredible sight. The gun carriage carrying a coffin through the streets of London, just the sheer number of people who turned out to pay their respects. And right around the world, there were numbers kind of thrown around of up to 4 billion people watching on TV. In Australia, there was apparently a peak of just over 5 million viewers at 8 p.m. on Monday. Then on Thursday, obviously, we had the public holiday, a day of mourning, bit of a mixed reaction from business because of the impact of trading, the cost of public holiday rates, etc. But now, after a pretty extraordinary kind of couple of weeks, life now goes on. But I think it was an incredible spectacle, the service on Monday night.
Once in a lifetime spectacle, that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, there you go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed.